Salasia Peter.
That is a spoiled vote. Spoiled.
Mumias West.
Order. Order, members. Order. Honorable Salasia, you are treated as if you have not voted. Can you vote? No theatrics.
Mumias West. Johnson Naika. Murang'a County. Betty Maina Njeri. Mvita Machele Mohamed. Mwala Musioka Vincent Musau. Mwatate Peter Shake. Mwea Mary Maingi. Mwingi Central.
Members, avoid making speeches when you vote. Mwea, can you vote?
Mary Maingi.
Okay.
Mwingi Central. Muliungi Gideon Mutemi.
On behalf of Mwingi Central, I vote no.
Mwingi North. Nzengu Paul. Mwingi West.
Order, but let me try to speak on point of order. That one is point of order number 91. Okay. I'm so much disappointed with Honorable Elmengid by saying that
Order Salasia, yes. Order Standing Order 31 deals with adjournment of the House.
91, yes.
So it can't be the one on which you are standing.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I'm standing on point of order.
Yes.
Order number 91, yes. I'm getting used to these things, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Yes.
So I'm so much surprised that out of all these members of parliament, that Engineer Elmengid is mentioning my name and asking me that I'm opposing the bill without even me listening to me giving facts the way I want to give my facts in the next 5 minutes to come. Immediately the Speaker is going to mention my name. Thank you, Mr.
Okay. Lelmengi, to be fair to Salasia, he has not spoken on this bill yet.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, I was waking up Salasia. I saw him, he was asleep. Okay. And again, Mr. Speaker, I've seen several members opposing this bill, and particularly on the assembled motorcycles that are imported. Those are the motorcycles that...
This finance bill. Madam Speaker, the reason as to why I'm saying I'm rejecting the finance bill, not just rejecting partially, but in totality. Because, Madam Speaker, this is a finance bill that from the onset, there is always increased taxation, item by item, detail by detail, up to the end. I want to say, Madam Speaker, because I recognize that we were advised by the Honorable Speaker Wetangula that we can present our contributions based on linkages, based on our opinions, based on the budget, and based on the finance bill that is current on the table. Madam Speaker, I want to say that as Kenyans, first and foremost, we were disappointed with the presentation that was given by the PS Treasury. Madam Speaker, I want to say that Kenyans keenly listened to how revenue was going to be generated to fix what is proposed in the budget. Madam Speaker, I want to say that Kenyans were left shocked because what was proposed, one of the things was we raised revenue because we want to sort out our pending bills. Madam Speaker, it is on the floor of this House that we were told that we have to wait for consolidation of the pending bills in this country by October. For that reason, Madam Speaker, I reject even the reason as to why we are increasing the taxes so that we can foot our pending bills. Madam Speaker, I want to say that this House, the leaders must rise up and support. And I want to ride on the presentation by MP Honorable Sylvia, who said that personally she does not understand what a finance bill is. I want to say that even yesterday we know that our colleagues were invited at State House. I thought they were going to make meaningful contributions, Madam Speaker, and give contribution as to why they think they are under siege in their respective constituencies where they come from. Madam Speaker, I want to register in this House that we share as colleagues, but the kind of issues that we are saying that we are relying, the Azimio of this other side opposition is relying on social media. Why did they choose to act, Madam Speaker, on the social media by telling us along the corridors that all the things you were arguing about, we have dropped? Madam Speaker, that was bread issue. Madam Speaker, the taxation of the motorcycle, which means they are also conflicting and contradicting what they're saying, Madam Speaker. Why did they also choose to act on the issues of social media? Why did they choose to respond to the Fourth Estate? Madam Speaker, I want to say that public participation needs to be redefined in this House. Yesterday, when we watched over the television, Madam Speaker, I saw a desperate minority whip. That is, I saw a desperate Honorable Whip Osoro, when he was very desperate of trying to convince Kenyans and deeply thinking on how taxation on bread has been dropped, on how taxation of motorcycles have been dropped. I saw a desperate and so much a person who is under pressure. Madam Speaker, I want to say that we must stand firm on the floor of this House and rise beyond numbers. Issues of numbers does not arise when we are talking about finance bill. Madam Speaker, I want to say that finance bill 2023 can equally be applicable on this budget that we want to appropriate. Madam Speaker, I want to say that there must be progression on how we generate our taxes. Madam Speaker, private sectors, I wish you gave me 1 more minute, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I have valid points. Kindly, I'm requesting for 1 minute, Madam Speaker. Thank you so much. Being a woman speaker, you know very well the problems we have. I've transversed in these industries. Private sectors are key. If they migrate from this country, we must take care of their interests. When we talk about zero rating, we go to standard rating. We are talking of exempt. The final sufferers are consumers. President Yoweri Museveni said that Kenyans must learn to produce and manufacture their raw materials. Where is this in finance bill?
Thank you. The Honourable Member for Alego Usonga, Honourable Samuel Atandi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker.
First and foremost, I think it's prudent for Kenya to compare itself with our neighbors in terms of the tax rate. But I think it is evident that as we compare ourselves with other peoples in the region who are taxing their people much more than us, we have to look at the local context where our Kenyans are. Kenyans now are economically at their knees, very vulnerable. And anybody attempting to add anything on top of the suffering Kenyans, it will not actually do justice. So I think it is very dishonest for us to compare ourselves or to get inputs from international financiers and imagine that Kenya is in the same situation. It's important to realize that since COVID-19, the economy of Kenya has not picked up. And having to tax Kenyans higher than that is making them not only vulnerable, but actually not being in a position to survive. Secondly, this debt we have been talking about, everybody says we are taxing them because we have to pay our debt. And I say, right, we have to pay our debt. But this debt has been acquired over a period of 61 years. You cannot acquire a debt in 61 years and you want to do away with the debt in 2 years. That means overburdening the people. We have to be strategic in dealing with the debt. We are not dying tomorrow as Kenyans. We need to pay the debt in a manner that enables our people to continue to grow. So when I hear this passion of wanting to tax Kenyans so that we pay a debt, we need to recognize that this debt is very old. And we need to be strategic and then deal with the debt for the next 5-7 years. And that way will allow our Kenyans to survive. Thirdly, Honorable Speaker, it is very shocking, even since Finance Bill 2023, we are borrowing money to do reproductive activities. We say we are poor, we need money. But the little money we get, we go and put in housing. We go and put in health care. While I accept these valuable things, but you cannot have the few coins you have, instead of putting them in something productive, you put the small coins in a dead hole. When you build a house, when will it generate income so that we collect taxes? I think we need to sit down and have a finance bill that is strategic, enabling, and can take Kenya forward. We cannot have a finance bill where the little money we have, we are actually putting them in a hole. When we go and build everybody a house, it is a good thing, but is it right for us now? The small money we have, we must put it in a reproductive activity. And I do not see anything like that in this finance bill. Honorable Speaker, I think when we did Finance Bill 2023, Kenyans had very many problems. The Finance Bill 23, we have not even seen the fruits. People are still in burden. They are still overburdened. We've never seen the fruits. I think it is prudent. I think it is prudent to wait for the interventions we did, to wait and see where the kind of fruits we are getting, so that the finance bills are progressive, building from each other. We should not just be very passionate of collecting taxes without enabling the Kenyans to grow. Let's look like some of the investment. One of the very strategic projects in Finance Bill 2023 was the ASLA Fund. Where are we in ASLA Fund?
Nowhere.
Getting money, putting in horse, and then you ask Kenyans to give more money. From where? You cannot milk a cow that is eating nothing.
Amen.
We need the Kenyan citizen to be fed with something to promote the economy so as to milk. How do you milk a dead cow? The Kenyan citizen is dead. We need interventions that enable the Kenyan person to thrive. So I think it doesn't make any sense to think of taxing the Kenyan when they are actually a dead cow.
Order, Kiamba, there's a point
Honorable
of order.
Speaker.
Order, there's a point of order. Yes, Wanjiku Muya. What is your point of order and what standing order? Give her the mic.
Honorable Speaker, I'm standing on point of order number 91. Is the member in order to state to the House and mislead
the following comments concerning the Finance Bill 2024. But I want to pick from where the Honorable Robert Mbui left. You know, Honorable Speaker, we have been around for some time. As a matter of fact, this, I think, is my 12th year in this parliament. And even before that, I was living in Kenya. What is so unique with this government that for 2 years in a row, the matter of finance bill is causing hulabaloo, is causing commotion, is causing pandemonium until young children are coming out the streets. We have had finance bills since 1963. We have had them. We had them during Jomo Kenyatta time. We had them during President Moi's time. We had them during President Kibaki. Recently, we had them during President Uhuru's time. But in this regime, 2 years in a row, the finance bill is causing serious problems to Kenyans. And is exposing the regime as totally insensitive to the plight of the people.
Do you want information from Kamket?
Certainly no, Honorable Speaker. How can Honorable Kamket inform me, Honorable Speaker? Really, no. So, Honorable Speaker, that is the question we must ask ourselves. And then it again raises the issue. Who advises this government? Who are the real advisors? In terms of economics, in terms of finance management, leave alone politics. Politics we can deal with later. But who advises this government? Because it seems to make mistake after mistake. Mistake after mistake. Mistake after mistake, Honorable Speaker. Following the outcry that happened after the 2023 finance bill was unveiled, I had thought that this government would be the wiser this time around. What we see is actually a worse case. As they say, the more things change, the more they remain the same. Honorable Speaker, I have read the bill in its entirety. I have similarly read the report of the committee, chaired by my very good friend, Honorable Kimani Korea. Honorable Speaker, if you look at the report of the committee, and together with the amendments it is proposing to make on the bill, then you come to the conclusion that actually the character, the structure of the bill is actually changing fundamentally. Fundamentally. And this flies on the face of the provisions of Standing Order 48. Honorable Speaker, at some point perhaps I would be calling upon you to consider asking the chair to withdraw the bill and introduce a new one. Because the character is changing. And why is the character changing, Honorable Speaker? Honorable Speaker, under Article 201 of the Constitution, specifically 201 sub-article A, on the matter of principles that govern or guide public finance management. Public finance management. I don't know what is itching, Honorable Soro. Honorable Speaker, one of the principles, some of the principles that should guide the management of public finance: openness, accountability, and including public participation in financial matters. If you can come out of the blues and tell us that now these things that we had introduced in the bill, these taxes that we had introduced in the bills, we are now removing them. It is basically going against the principles of public finance management. You are turning a public finance bill into a personal property that you can change at whims. Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Chairman of...
Honorable Speaker.
Order, Minority Leader. Chairman.
Honorable Speaker, again, on a point of order on misinformation. The leader of minority clearly read the PFM Act and talked about then if changes are made, the allegations making them then significantly that bill would have to be drafted. Then the question on public participation remains. Then does it mean that he is purporting that everything that the public says is just an exercise in futility and should not change? Otherwise, then why were we involving taxpayers' money and time to reason to the members of the public if we cannot propose changes on the bill?
Minority Leader. Proceed. Give him the mic. You are giving the next. Give him his mic.
Anyway, just come. Honorable Speaker, obviously, with all the tremendous possible respect, that was not a point of order. The Honorable Chair can actually advance that argument when he gets time to reply. Honorable Speaker, let me proceed this way. That Kenyans are already overtaxed. In fact, if you look at Kenya vis-a-vis the rest of the world, you would be forgiven to conclude that Kenyans are some of the most taxed human beings on earth. And therefore, any responsible government would be looking at ways to lessen the tax burden on Kenyans, not to increase it, Honorable Speaker, as this bill is attempting to do. Honorable Speaker, in spite of the recommendations in the report, which look very flowery, Honorable Speaker, we have always been reminded that the devil is in the details. I am aware, even though this is not part of the finance bill, that there are plans to increase the levy on roads maintenance. I know, of course, the amendment will come separately. Yes. The moment you increase the road maintenance levy by even a shilling, leave alone the 9 shillings being proposed, the ripple effect is enormous in all sectors of the economy. And the loser is the common Kenyan taxpayer. Honorable Speaker. And therefore, this is a case of taking with one hand, giving with one hand, and taking back with another hand. It's not helping the situation, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this economy has become too hostile for foreign investors. Indeed, even for local investors. We have got documented cases of manufacturers who have shifted base from Kenya to our neighboring countries as a result of this unbearable tax burden that keeps shifting. Actually, you can never be sure because it is so unpredictable that no sensible investor can actually put their money in this country. To make matters worse, we are witnessing what could be compared to the state capture that happened during the President Jacob Zuma's regime in South Africa. Honorable Speaker, and I will explain shortly. Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, if you take the case of the manufacturing sector, and specifically the steel and cement manufacturing sector, that sector is now under total control. Who is being assisted as we watch? Indeed, Parliament is complicit. We have a case where this one particular manufacturer is the only person who has the capacity to manufacture billets which are used in the steel manufacture. And actually clinker, which is also used in the manufacture of cement. To make it worse, this same manufacturer, who has got the support of these people, Honorable Speaker, he is compelling his competitors to buy from him raw materials. To make it worse, he is compelling them to buy at a minimum. That for you to buy from me billet or clinker, you must buy quantities worth minimum of 100,000 US dollars. And you must pay me in US dollars. And he delivers when he wants. Do you expect him to compete favorably with the rest? I will name him. It is the owner of Devki Steel Company and the owner of Simba Cement. I think his name is Guru. That one. We must shame these people. We must name and shame these people. If we are to rescue our country from the clutches of state capture, Honorable Speaker, we must do so. We must do so.
I am happy. I am happy at the debate and the information that is coming out from my point of order is 91. 91. That my friend, the leader, I would like him to substantiate and give us, he said he must buy from me, he must do this and this. Where did he say? Where is that factual information? You can do better by giving us, a record of what he said, other than hearsay, Honorable Speaker. You can do better than just say things.
Order, Honorable, both of you are veering off the track. Let's avoid the temptation to besmirch people who cannot defend themselves on the floor. Go on, Minority Leader.
Yes, please. Don't.
So I will leave that at that. But Honorable Baya, stop holding brief for these characters. It doesn't help. Let me tell you, from my experience in this Parliament, they'll never really assist you in the constituency. Honorable Speaker, where we have now reached is a situation of helplessness. No wonder young boys and girls are coming out in their numbers on the streets and facing police truncheons and water cannon and tear gas, something which is unprecedented, Honorable Speaker. It reminds me of a play by the celebrated Professor Francis Mbuga, that is Betrayal in the City. Honorable Speaker, you are a literature person. If you read that play...
I read it long
You read
ago.
it, yes. There's a character by the name Jasper Wendu. Okay? He was in a situation, he was actually lamenting that we have waited for independence. We were hopeful for good things. Independence came. And now we have got nothing else to look up to or forward to, Honorable Speaker.
He has 15 minutes. Has he finished 15
That
minutes?
is the situation.
Your time is up. Finish up in 1 minute.
Children are finding themselves in this country. They have already lost hope. They are not seeing any hope in us as their leaders. And therefore, they have taken it upon themselves to come out to the streets to defend their rights, Honorable Speaker. And as they do so, those who are in charge of the instruments of the state, especially the Inspector General of Police, must be cautioned not to misuse those instruments. to interfere with the enjoyment of constitutional rights by Kenyans who are free to picket, to demonstrate, to do sit-ins, and indeed to capture Parliament.
Time up.
Because Parliament seemingly has become rogue. Honorable Speaker, I oppose.
Osoro.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker.
Books is good girls never get the corner office. Mr. Speaker, this is in response to what you are telling me earlier in the morning when you are urging me to be a good example to the girls, the younger ones who are doing their first term. Mr. Speaker, if they are good girls, they'll never get corner office. Be as bad as Millie Odhiambo, you will be the mother of this house. I am a bad girl, and as a bad girl, I'm here serving my 4th term. So do not be cheated like the African culture where you are told to have decorum, dress nicely, be kind, be nice. I'm telling you, you will go nowhere. Be a bad girl like me and you'll get somewhere. Mr. Speaker, having said that, I wish to declare my interest under the standing orders number 90, which Wamushomba stood on, because I don't want to be declared disorderly. And that is because when you have a pecuniary or personal interest, you declare. And Mr. Speaker, I want to declare my interest as a former user of sanitary towels, and as Dynasty as a former user of diapers, and as a future user of diapers. Because as a woman, once you get menopausal, you will have leaks and you will use diapers. And Mr. Speaker, I want to say, it's not all women, so Rosa should not be worried, but there are women who get leaks. And I want to say that there are people, because we don't want to have shame over menopausal issues, we don't want shame over period. And Mr. Speaker, I am saying this because I've been sitting here today listening patiently to the men talking about sanitary towels that is in the finance bill. And they are speaking with authority. If we wanted to save money, the way the finance committee has done, and want to tax anything else, go and tax men innerwears. Go and tax men innerwears. Don't speak on our issues as women. Let us be the one to speak about sanitary towels. We are the ones who know what works for us, and you are saying we want to encourage the local manufacturing. While you are waiting to enable our local manufacturing agencies to create those sanitary towels, will we tell our periods to stop? Our periods will not stop while you are manufacturing. Our girls will have their menses as usual, and the cost that they are used to will be higher because that will come through underground. What I am saying is, Mr. Speaker, I do not support the finance bill. And I'll give you the reasons why I don't support it. One, I don't support it because it's devoid of a strong policy underpinning. Number two, I don't support it because it's not premised on a better model, but on a beta model. The KK government told us that their things are premised on BETA, but increasingly we are seeing it premised on BITTER, beta model. That's why I'll not support it. And Mr. Speaker, the other reason I will not support it, it's because it encourages opulence. Look at how much money I have. Look at the price of my watch. It's a 5 million watch, and I'll explain why, Mr. Speaker. So do not be in a hurry to ask me to explain. I'm going to explain. Mr. Speaker, number one, the one I've talked about, the tax system that is devoid of a strong policy underpinning or premised on a flawed policy underpinning. I will give you the example of the eco-levy that seeks to strike a balance between the economy and ecology but fails miserably to do that. Mr. Speaker, if I give you an example, this government has actually sponsored or facilitated the roads in Fangano Island and the tarmac in Rusinga Island, even though they are taking pretty long. And I want to tell you, Mr. Speaker, that if you are to use this model, the taxing model that they are saying, then it means that a contractor who is doing those roads and earning billions on those roads, Mr. Speaker, when they destroy the environment, the fishermen from Rembaringiti, Rusinga, Mfangano, and Sukuru Island, who will be making at most 1,000, will be asked to repair that person's damage through tax, forgetting the PPP principle. The person who destroys is the one who should pay that damage, not me. The fisherman of Omena making 1,000, you're expecting me to pay the tax of a person who is earning billions doing that road. I do not support this tax. Mr. Speaker, I can give you another example. Mr. Speaker, the second example I'm going to give is on the issue of the smartphones again. And I want to thank Honorable Rachel Nyamai, who actually said that one of the ladies that she's sponsoring her education, when she talked to her, the lady told her, I'm here doing TikTok. And we do not actually seem to understand how that relates to this tax. Now I'll tell how it relates to this tax. Mr. Speaker, if you are taxing digital content.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to oppose the bill, the Finance Bill 24-25, based on the following grounds. That number one, Mr. Speaker, there was anger that was expressed yesterday on the streets coming from Kenyans, and to be specific, the Gen Z. The Generation Z revolution that started yesterday reminds me, Mr. Speaker, of number one, the revolution that took place in China, the Chinese Revolution, that was also known as the Peasant Revolution or the Mamamboga Revolution, that occurred in the year 1949, which was headed by a gentleman called Chairman Mao Zedong, together with Deng Xiaoping. Mr. Speaker, the revolution that started yesterday also reminds me of the Russian Revolution, which was the Bolshevik Revolution that took place in 1917 under the leadership of Vladimir Lenin and Joseph Stalin. It further reminds me, Mr. Speaker, of the Bourbon Restoration in France, the French Revolution that took place in the year 1789, that was headed by Maximilien Robespierre, together with Napoleon Bonaparte, the military genius. Mr. Speaker, that revolution advocated for three things. Number one, equality and fraternity. Can you just shut up as I pump knowledge in your empty mind?
Kagombe. Baba, will not take your seat? Yes, give Kagombe the...
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the member for Embakasi East,
what is out of order,
is beating drums of war. It is very unfortunate to use this forum, Mr. Speaker.
Standing order, Kagombe.
The relevance of what the member of Parliament is speaking about is not relevant to the bill that we are discussing here. What he's doing is taking an opportunity to use this floor to beat drums of war in this country. We are at a very bad moment at the moment, at this time, and we cannot allow that to happen on this floor, on the floor of this House, Mr. Speaker.
Go on.
Mr. Speaker, you know I don't like responding to fools.
Order.
The Bible says in the
Can
book
you
of,
withdraw that?
It's
There
in
are
the
no
book,
fools in this house.
In the book of Proverbs 26, the Bible says, Mr. Speaker, that never respond to a fool
seat.
because the...
Order, Baba Wino. Order, Baba Wino. In this house, order, members, whether a member represents fishermen from the shores of the lake or the sea, whether a member represents herdsmen, whether a member is a professor, you are all honorable members of this house. And there are no fools in this house. And I want to warn you, Baba Wino, respect begets respect. Respect your colleagues, they will respect you. There are no fools here. Can you withdraw and apologize?
Mr. Speaker, a fool is somebody who does not understand something.
Order. 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 Baba
If I
Wino.
think that somebody is a fool, why should...
Order, Baba Wino. You withdraw and apologize, or I trungate the mic and give the floor to somebody else. Give him the mic. Yes, Baba.
I withdraw.
And apologize.
I don't apologize, Mr. Speaker.
Withdraw and apologize.
You can give the mic to somebody else, Mr. Speaker.
Okay.
And I don't withdraw.
Okay, trungate the mic. Mutunga. Yes, Chonga. Give the mic to Chonga.
Thank you, Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you made a statement.
Your duty to mentor young first-timers, not to heckle them. Go on.
Mr. Speaker, I think Milia has graduated
Go
to
on,
grandmother.
Janet.
Anyway, Mr. Speaker, I stand to oppose the Finance Bill 2024. Mr. Speaker, when this bill landed in the House, Mr. Speaker, and it was tabled for the first reading, Mr. Speaker, and I took a copy of it, Mr. Speaker, I said this bill, I'm sure, was not made on earth. It must have been made somewhere else, Mr. Speaker. Because no human being can sit somewhere and craft that kind of bill, Mr. Speaker, for people who live on this earth, Mr. Speaker. Why do I say, Mr. Speaker, so? Mr. Speaker, the bill was attacking a human being from all sides, from his stomach, from his head, from his legs. You cannot move, you cannot eat, you cannot sleep, you cannot travel. That's what the bill was doing, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I was asking myself again a question. If this bill has decided to tax everything under the sun, from bread to tires of mukokoteni, of piki-piki, boda-bodas, wheelbarrows, even wheelchairs of disabled people. Mr. Speaker, I was asking myself, in the next financial year that is just 8 months to come, what will they tax now? Because you have taxed basically everything. What are you going to tax next? I thought the next taxation is going to be the oxygen now that we are taking.
Yes, order, Janet. Yes, Lelmengit. What's your point of order and what standing order?
I'm standing under the standing order number 91,
Yes.
Mr. Speaker. I want Honorable Junet to substantiate that we are only putting levies on imported assembled motorcycles, not locally assembled and not locally manufactured, so that the Kenyans out there can know, can know the truth, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, I have not even spoken about that. Me, I spoke about rubber. I did not talk about assembled, disabled, and non-assembled. I have not talked about that. You must be in a different house than me. You must be in Wasingishu County Assembly or something, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, to proceed with my point of argument, Mr. Speaker, if this bill was done the way it was done, without the input of serious government technocrats, Mr. Speaker, then it has proved to me that this government lacks technocrat. What it has also come to prove is that when we were campaigning, this government said they have a plan. And they put everything that is flowery, that is good in that plan. But I can see now what is happening in this country is to govern this country without a plan. Because there is no plan that can recommend this kind of finance bill, Mr. Speaker, on earth. It is a process now. The process now the government or the regime has entered is to govern without a plan. And I think the people who have been entrusted to develop these bills, to bring it here, those people really want to bring down this government. And it is coming down slowly. And so, I mean too fast. Mr. Speaker, you cannot, I want to tell my colleagues and members of parliament here, where the rubber meets the road is this house. The bill can be manufactured anywhere. It can be manufactured inside a bar, inside a hotel, inside your home, but in the end, it has to be passed here. And that is why they say there is no taxation without representation. Now, it is us, members of parliament, who will be held responsible for taxing Kenyans, not the authors of the bill. Those people, they will be found nowhere. The people whose the question will be put to them, as many of that opinion say aye, as many of that opinion say nay, it is us. Today, we have an opportunity to stand with the people of Kenya, to defend the people who elected us. Today, against harsh taxation, against imposing taxation that is going to make them... Mr. Speaker, you are taxing bread, the stomach of someone. You are taxing rubber, the mobility of someone. You are taxing money transfer and money services. People cannot afford anything to buy because the money will be expensive. What else has remained other than death now? Somebody just has to die now. Nothing else has remained. But Mr. Speaker, I want to say this. Taxation must be, we know the general principles of taxation, Mr. Speaker. The general principles of taxations are known. Myself, I've interacted with the finance bill now for the 11th or 12th time, Mr. Speaker. The tax must be equitable, must be simple, must be efficient. Now, before last financial year and the other year, we were discussing, for example, I-tax. Now, today, we are coming with E-teams. Tomorrow, we shall come with K-tax. Mr. Speaker, how many times are we going to change the process of taxation in this country? We are discussing here economic growth. You want to tell me this kind of bill will enhance economic growth in this country? Is that what you're telling Kenyans? Mr. Speaker, let me say this.
Yes, Honorable Junet, there's a point of order from Kamket. Under what standing order?
Mr. Speaker, I rise under standing order number 176. And Mr. Speaker, just a moment. The Honorable Junet has spoken very vehemently against the bill. He has powers under standing order number 176. I have read the report of the committee, and there is no dissenting opinion. The members from the minority side have supported this bill. His own members that he, as the minority whip, has nominated to the finance committee. If he is true to his word, can I challenge him, Mr. Speaker, to exercise his powers under standing order number 176 to de-whip those members?
Junet.
Mr. Speaker, you see, we are now on the plenary of the House. We are not in a finance committee. And the decision of the bill will be made on the floor of this House, not in the committee. But I know where Honorable Kamket is coming from. I know when you collect kettle, you share with everyone. But now this is different, Mr. Speaker. We are in a different scenario. Now we are in the floor of the House, Mr. Speaker. We are not dealing with kettle. But having said, Mr. Speaker, you know, when you are interrupted like this, you lose your thought process, Mr. Speaker. But let me come back to what I was saying. Mr. Speaker, this bill, I can see the committee in their own wisdom have proposed certain changes. That's a step in the right direction, but that's not enough. That is not enough. Because there are more other things that we need to deal with, and we need to bring amendment on them or shoot down the bill in its entirety, in totality. Mr. Speaker, let us be sensitive to the people of Kenya. Now I've lost my time. I can see I'm being told your time is up. Let us be sensitive to the people of Kenya. Because it is the ordinary person who's paying for what we are processing here. It's not us, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if we are going to make life difficult, for example, Mr. Speaker, last year we passed a finance bill here, which is a Finance Act of 2023. How much money have we collected using that? We did not reach our targets. Now that is a proof that higher taxation does not yield to higher revenues, Mr. Speaker. Lower taxation yields to higher revenues. If you make the taxation process easy and simple, and which everyone wants to pay, that is when you will collect money. But when you tax it highly, people will look for ways to evade it, people will look for ways to not to pay it, and that is the norm. It is not all over the world. It is not rocket science. So let us...
Is up, Didymus. Your time is up, Janet. Didymus.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity also to add my voice.